I want you to see the lyrics that I believe it is here. Okay, and this is just one example of, we didn't get to that part, right, of the song yet, but this is one song in which he uses this structure. Okay, here it says, right, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you. Right, so it's because I can have fallen in love with you. All right, so again, it's pretty formal. You can listen to this in songs, poems, and books, and also some expressions in speaking. But of course, in speaking, it is way more common using because of, since, because, and not for. But for, it's a very interesting structure. If you're writing, for example, something for your test, it's going to be more interesting saying that instead of because. Okay, you're going to show that you have a knowledge of these other ways of expressing a cause or reason. Okay, just that.
Okay.
So let's take a look at what you got, and we're going to see details. Yeah, tell me.
Okay, I did 3 sentences because it's so weird. I mean, I'm not used to yeah.
Don't worry. Let's see those 3, and then we are going to write the last one together. So, I don't know why this is here. Okay, good. Now, read what you got, please, Emma.
Okay, so she hasn't arrived at the airport, for she doesn't like to fly.
Yes, let's keep going, please. Let's go to the next one.
Okay. He's always complaining about drunk people, yet he's drinking alcohol right now.
Okay, good.
And she has never eaten beef before, nor has she eaten pork.
All right, good. Yes, I think it's working great. Look, in the first one, because of this structure, and as you said, it's not commonly used, even writing the corrections, they are going to have that. Why? Because usually you have some requirements if you want it to use it with all the things that need to be applied for using for. Usually the main idea is that they are kind of going to be in the same tense, but it's not a requirement for it to be correct. It is also going to be correct, but here perhaps because of this difference, they want to change that for a different expression, perhaps. All right, but in terms of using it, it is correct, because the only requirement for it to be correct, and perhaps not very formal, it is to have 2 complete ideas in which the second one is going to be the reason for the first one, right? But when you say she hasn't arrived at the airport, right, then you say where she doesn't like to fly. There is like a reason, right, about it, but perhaps right, it can be stated differently. But that's the only thing, and just perhaps of that again, and because of that, it is marked over there. But it is correct. The second one, it is also correct, and the third one as well. Again, as you said, it feels weird, but they are good. All right, they are good and they are grammatically correct. So let's work one more. I don't have again observations. You can let me know if you have questions about these details, but it is exactly what you're doing. Let's work one more. What a fanboy would you like to work an example with now? You have 4, you have already, and nor, but, or yet. I think you got right, the ones that are weird. The other ones are kind of common. So what do you say? Which one would you like to use?
Yeah, I chose those that I'm not used to practice. So
then I think the other ones are not hard because you know and, right? But, or, and so it's consequence. So let's try to write one more with the ones you are a little bit conflicted with. So what do you say?
Prefer so. Yeah.
So which one? Which one would you like to work
with? Probably nor.
Good. Let's try then nor. Actually, I'm going to give you an extra time now. Let me see. Where's it? I got lost. Okay, it is here. So let's use nor, and this time we have one in the simple present. The one you did is in the present perfect. So let's use a different tense this time. Okay, let's see how you feel. Let's do it, please. Let's have 1-2 minutes stops and we check.
Okay, yeah, right. I'll think about something.
Yes, go ahead.
Um, so here I'm a bit conflicted because I mean, what to say? I'm not prepared for the test, nor
Now, again,
I mean,
the rule is that anytime you have the verb to be, then the
mhm.
next idea is expected also, right, to be with the verb to be. So your actually reactively is the verb to be. So it would be nor am I, and then
Nor
the
am I.
next
Okay.
nor am I.
Nor am
Okay.
I also.
Yes. So let's read that one, please.
Okay, so I'm not prepared for that test, nor am I for the essay.
Yes. As you're only using the verb to be, and this is not a requirement, but it's sometimes a good idea to repeat the adjective, as this is an adjective in this case, all right, to be prepared already, right? You can use it one more time just to
Okay.
avoid possible confusion. But again, it is not a requirement, all right? So
Okay.
you can say prepared one more time over there. And again, it's just for having everything clear and avoiding any possible conflict or confusion, but it is great. Okay, so again, one more time. Anytime you see the verb to be, use it that inverted. It means the verb to be has
Okay.
to be before the subject, right? Anytime you're talking about simple present, I like, she goes, they go, you have to use do or does before the subject, right? So
Okay.
they don't want to go to the party, right? Nor do they, right, want to stay home, right? So we have to look for other alternatives. If it's will, the same, right? Will I? I won't do this, nor will I, and the verb and the following part to the idea. If it's past, did, right? Nor did I, nor did she. If it's present perfect as you did, right?
Mhm.
Nor she, nor have I. If it's past perfect, nor had I, nor had she. And if it's sorry, modal, any modal, right? Nor can I, nor would I, nor should I, and so on and so forth. Okay, only
Okay.
inversion with what you have as the auxiliary that is always going to be next to the verb. The only ones you have to be careful with are simple tenses because the auxiliary is usually not there in affirmative ideas, right? But that's it. Again, the examples are good. Everything you wrote here makes sense and the connection is clear. Again, it's good that you know these structures, not only in order to have more options, right? For example, for nor yet, but also in order to practicing what we're practicing now, that is the usage of
Mm.
comma, right? The main thing here is the usage of comma, but of course, these extra things are also very helpful. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's well, actually, this is the second, right? The first one, it was a list of items. More than two items, you have to use a comma after and or after or. The second one is with these fanboys, right? Anytime you have
Yeah.
these fanboys, you have to use a comma, but the requirement is that you have two complete ideas, right? Before and after the fanboy. If not, don't use a comma, all right? That's going to be the requirement. Then let's keep going. We have more usages for comma. This is what I was telling you yesterday. Let's read this one, please. This is parenthetical phrases.
Okay. To separate a parenthetical phrase or interrupter, all doctors, if they care about their patients, are concerned with good office hygiene.
Very well.
Interrupters can be, I read that part?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. Interrupters can be comments like, according to me, according to the class, being honest, following your advice, as far as I'm concerned, as long as it works in that way, etc.
Yes. So remember, right? If you have but and you have one expression that is not your subject, that is not part of the main idea that you're giving, then it's extra, right? So it has to be in between commas. It means that if you take that away, right, if you drop that expression, that phrase, it won't affect the meaning of the sentence, right? As the main thing that you want to communicate. But of course, something can be a little bit different, but the sentence, it has to be correct, right? If it's not correct when you take that away, when you drop that phrase, then it means that you're not using the parenthetical phrase correctly. Okay, so these are common expressions. We're going to try to practice everything at once. So let me see. We have now colon. Colon is going to be kind of long. We're going to try to cover that next time. So I want to see now just one usage of dash, this one.
Okay.
And now we're going to practice. So let's read this, please. Dash, the M dash.
Okay. When to use M dash to replace commas when writing a parenthetical or interruptive phrase. The dashes have a slightly more emphatic feel, making the reader focus on this information that is said inside the special marks. And so, when the baby was born in June, nearly 2 months premature, the parents were happy but quite nervous, and they still had to buy all the baby supplies. Hint, if you see a lot of commas in English, there must be a mistake. Please don't be afraid of using periods, semicolons, and dashes instead.
There you go. Okay, so this is an interesting, and I believe that that piece of advice, it's worth, all right, knowing and following. Why? Because again, remember, if you use a lot of commas, again, there must be a mistake because we usually don't use commas, all right, as often as we do in Spanish. Right? In Spanish, I believe we use a lot of commas, but in English, it is not going to be correct. So, two options, right? Remember the rule. If you feel and you know that it's a complete idea, don't use commas with fanboys every time because it's going to be repetitive. And again, the main idea is going to be lost over there, right? So try to always use periods, semicolons to start a new idea, even though it's related with the previous one, right? And also because it avoids confusion. Now here, you can use commas, right? The last usage that we read, it was this one, right? Parenthetical phrases. But here, instead of commas, we are using M dashes. Because what? It gives more emphasis, right? It highlights this information, but it is still something extra. That's why we call this parenthetical. Okay, so it's kind of, again, I don't know, paradoxical because it's something that is not that important, but we want to put emphasis on this thing that is not as important as other elements of this sentence, right? So let's try to practice now, please. We are going to go to the document, but it's not only going to be dash. I want you to write any idea that comes to your mind, okay? So it can be, again, one paragraph, one short paragraph, in which we are going to use, at least we're going to try to use, and I'm going to upload this now to Google Classroom so you have access to this presentation. But I want you to use, please, we have four main rules. One, list of items. The second one is fanboys. The third one is, we skipped this one. This is introductory phrase. Remember the rule also, if at the beginning of the idea, right, you have something that is not the subject, it perhaps is an introductory phrase that is giving you something important to know before you start with the main idea. Okay, so let's please little read this one before going to the practice method.
Okay. After an introductory phrase, in preparation for the next convention, the representative studied up on the most important issues. Introductory phrases can be time, place, manner, clarifications, etc. Example, on Mondays at the gym, please, sometimes, usually, in Bolivia, etc.
Yes, right. Anything that you want to clarify that you think is going to be helpful before starting your main idea, it is going to be an introductory phrase. Right? So you have introductory phrases at the beginning of your idea, you have parenthetical phrases in the middle of your idea, and you can replace those commas in parenthetical phrases with dashes if you want to put some emphasis, right, on that extra idea. And finally, no, this is the same, right? Parenthetical. So one more time, we have these four: list of items, fanboys, introductory phrases, and parenthetical phrases. And one variation is the, not the comma, sorry, this one over here, the M dash. So let's try to use then these five, okay? The four with comma plus this one. At least let's use this time 5 minutes. Any ideas that come to your mind are going to be good. I don't know if you have questions before starting, please, Matilde. Let me know.
No, it's clear.
All
I'm
right,
thinking about
let's
examples.
do it, please. So, yes, also just in case, going to upload this. It is going to be on the course on Google Classroom so that you can
Great.
see the examples. All right, so you have it there, please. It's in courses, information, and contact. You can take a look at the presentation of punctuation marks and also the families. Good, so we have the 5 minutes.
Okay.
We check in 1 minute, please.
Okay.
All right, so let's take a look at what you got, and I'll show you one last detail to finish today's class.
Okay.
I'm here with you, so let's read what you got, please.
Okay. I would like to tell you about my worst day in Cameroon. We were, I could use a dot here, but okay. We were traveling to a small town called Balmayo. It was really hot and we haven't eaten lunch, nor have we eaten breakfast. When we arrived at the hotel, I found a rat in my room. After that, we start working and I noticed a snake right next to me. It was a really hard day.
Eh? All right, thank you very much. Now let's see the details. All right, remember in the first part, we're going to need a different punctuation, right? So I would like to tell you the 10, 10, 10 Cameroon. So here, as this is just a big introduction, so period or semicolon, so period will be better in this case. Exactly. All right, so we were traveling right to small town. Yes, it was really hot. And so remember also the second rule to use this one. Actually, here we have one rule, right? That is the comma. Why? Because you have one complete idea and the second complete idea, right? So here, comma.
Could you zoom it a little bit, please?
Yeah, one more time, please.
Could you zoom it? Zoom the.
Oh, yes.
Please,
Of course.
a little bit.
Give me 1 second. All right. Well, it's a lot. All right. So, nor have we, yes, okay, this is correct. The Grammarly has to say something, had we eaten. If you use had, well, this is a Grammarly recommendation, okay? Had is the past perfect. The past perfect is the past of the past, right? So it depends on the idea that you want to give. So perhaps this recommendation is good. And why? Because if you want to say that the idea of not eating breakfast happened before eating or not eating lunch, then this recommendation is valid and you should take it into account. All right, you can take that into account. But if you don't want to put emphasis on the idea of which one happened first or second one, and you're just mentioning two actions in the past, it doesn't matter the order, then it is okay to stay with the present perfect. All right, but again, also you have to be careful because as you're talking about past and past, sometimes it's good if to use simple past and past perfect. Why? Because remember that the present perfect has more of a connection with the present than with the past, right? So again, if you feel that this action is more related to something, sorry, indefinite and possibly related with the present than a connection with the past, and that possibly happened before another action in the past, then you have to decide. Okay, so if you see the connection with the present, use have in this case, and if you see more connection with the past, you can use the past perfect. Okay, so it's up to you and up to the idea that you want to convey.
Okay,
All right,
so just in the second tense, I mean, it wouldn't be like we hadn't eaten lunch, or I keep the haven't. I mean,
You can keep here the haven't, and you can change
mhm.
this to had. Again, only if you want to say that this is a past action that perhaps didn't happen before this action that you mentioned in the present perfect. Okay, so again, it
Okay.
can be sometimes confusing, but the idea is that this action can be in past, but you're not telling, right, when it happened. And if you change this, let's say that you have it like this, then you are saying that this action did not happen before this action that you mentioned before. All right, but if you mention just
Okay.
like this, you are just talking about past actions that are not directly related to an order, which one happened first or second. You're just talking about two things that happened in the past in an indefinite time. Okay, so again,
Okay.
the difference can be just a little one, but it can actually be important if you change the auxiliary.
Okay.
So,
One more question. If I exchange, for example, and we haven't eaten breakfast nor have we eaten lunch, I mean, you eat
yes, if you are
breakfast.
with that
Mm-hmm.
making clear which one is the one that always happens first and the
Mm-hmm.
second one, it's also yes. I mean, it's going to make sense, right? That you exchange the order. So haven't eaten lunch, nor had we eaten. Yes, if you do that, right? Perhaps the recommendation is not going to be there anymore, and perhaps it's not going to make sense changing this to had because the order is
Okay.
going to be there, right? And it's going to be quite obvious that the order, right, is set and breakfast is before, right, lunch. So in that case, I believe that the change wouldn't make sense.
Okay.
All right, if you had lunch afterwards, then it will be like that and it will be okay.
Okay.
All right, good. So here, this is like an introductory phrase, but this is also another rule that is the rule for what we call the complex sentences. Okay, complex sentences usually have, all right, this is again grammar, but when, remember, what is the name of and, for, so, nor, those are fanboys, but the grammatical name, it is coordinating conjunctions. Okay, so if you have a coordinating conjunction, you have a compound sentence. But if you
Mm-hmm.
have a subordinating conjunction, that is when, because, since, all right, you have a complex sentence. And the rule says, all right, when you have a complex sentence, and if this subordinating conjunction is in the middle, you don't need any punctuation, right? For example, because it doesn't
Okay.
use any punctuation. But when it's at the beginning, you have to use a comma, right? When the clause that is related to that one is after the subordinating conjunction. Okay, so here we're using the comma and it is correct, but more than being a phrase or an introductory phrase, because this is not a phrase, this is a clause. And how do we know when it's a phrase or a clause? A phrase is always an incomplete sentence or idea. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
this is always going to be incomplete, but a clause is complete, but it depends on another clause. All right, that's more or less the logic. But here again, this is not introductory phrase. This is the subordinated conjunction plus one clause, and here we use a comma, correct? Because the subordinating is first. And then good. After that, now this is an introductory phrase, great.
Mm-hmm.
And here, right, remember one more time the comma. Why? Because we have two complete sentences and we have different subjects, right? So we started working
Okay.
and I noticed, right, like right next to me, it was a really hard day. So that's it. It is good. Perhaps we're only missing one thing. Yeah, right. We're missing the parenthetical ideas and
Yeah.
the right,
The
but we're going
dash.
to
Yeah.
work how we're going to work that then next week. But in general, I
Okay.
think we're doing it good. Just one more time, be careful with these all right separations, punctuation marks before a
Mm.
new idea. But that's it. I don't know if you have questions or comments or anything before finishing. Let me know, please.
It's clear. Yeah.
All right, good. That's great. Now, I'm not going to develop this but already came to me as you were saying, right, that it is weird. We have some expressions that are going to make a lot of possible things in English that they sound pretty weird, but they are correct grammatically, right, speaking. And even many people, right, that are native English speakers, they don't know these rules. And as we, right, as we speak Spanish natively, we speak that language incorrectly. Okay, but again, it's worth knowing when we have an important test, an international test. So again, I'm not going to develop this yet. We're going to see this on Monday, and I'm going to
Okay.
show you some interesting expressions that sound weird and even incorrect, but they are correct. All right, so we're going to cover that one on Monday.
Okay.
That's it. Let's finish, please. Today is like the midterm in the sense of it's the fourth class out of 8 classes. It means that you're going to have an extra survey, please. First, this is the
Okay.
daily survey, usual one. Let's
Okay.
answer that one first, please.
Okay.
All right, and now this is the one they call it the satisfaction survey. Just 2 questions. How you feel in these 4 days so far?
Okay.
Good. So I think you're done. Then that's it. Thanks a lot, Matilda. You have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend and see
You
you
too.
on Monday. Thank
See you
you.
on Monday. Thank you. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.